Okay, that's the most dangerous sentence in this job. Not because it's true, but because it isn't. It's those words that are said every single day in locker rooms, patrol cars, day rooms, after a call nobody talks about, and in those quiet conversations that never seem to go anywhere. I'm okay, and that's the biggest lie I've ever told myself. I've said it after bad calls, after nights I didn't sleep. I said it when I could still see their face when the house got quiet, but my head didn't. I said it when my faith started slipping, and I kept saying it while I was falling apart. Not to my family, not to my partners, but to myself, because if I said it enough, maybe it would stick. Maybe it would come true. It didn't. And if you're being honest with yourself right now, you've said it too. Hi, I'm retired Sergeant Danny Kuhn, and this is Bulletproof First Responder, where first responders grow stronger in faith, sounder in mind, and unbreakable in purpose. We're not easing into this today. We're jumping straight into it. You know that phrase you've said 1,000 times without thinking, I'm okay? Well, I'll tell you, those words have probably done more damage to first responders than anything we face on the job. Not the calls, not the stress, not the things we've seen. Those words, okay. Because here's the truth. Most of the time when you say, I'm okay, what you actually mean is I'm not sleeping. I can't shut it off. I'm carrying stuff I haven't dealt with. I don't even know what's wrong, but something is. But we don't say that. You know, it really hits hard when you think about it. Call after call, body after body, one more dead kid call, one more overdose, one more suicide. The ones you couldn't save and the ones you did. The moments where you did everything right and still lost, and their faces stick with you. It's exhausting. You might say, I'm okay, but deep down, it's more like, I'm tired, I'm done. Trying to explain what's going on inside can feel impossible, and there's this pressure to keep strong, to keep it together. It's tough not to feel like you're a burden when you're already carrying so much. Being okay means not talking about the things that haunt you. It means brushing off the bad nights, minimizing the moments that should have been warning signs. You learn something fast in this job. You don't have time to feel. You adapt. You're not broken, you're changed. And dark humor sets in. You learn how to joke 5 minutes after CPR fails, how to eat a burrito after leaving a bloody homicide scene, how to sit through a debriefing as if nothing happened. And nobody calls you out. Why? Because they're all doing the same thing. I'm okay is what you say when the tone drops and your heart rate spikes, but you've already learned to shut that down. It's like a weight that sits there, but what can you do? It's that feeling you've just wrapped up a call that's going to live in your head rent-free for the rest of your life, and you still have hours left on your shift. And moments like that, you find yourself saying, I'm okay, even when that might not be the whole truth. In the locker room, in the apparatus bay, or during briefings, that phrase becomes like a shield, a survival tool for first responders. It allows you to step over the blood and chaos, pushing through to do the job despite everything swirling around you. And then, just like that, you have to switch gears from something heavy and tragic to celebrating a birthday, joining a family dinner, or facing those eager kids asking about your day. We say I'm okay because that's the culture. You handle it. You move on. You don't bring it home. You don't make it someone else's problem. And on the surface, that sounds like strength. But there's a difference between strength and suppression. And a lot of you in this job are not actually handling it. You're storing it. Every call you don't process, every image you push down, every moment you tell yourself, it didn't affect me, it doesn't disappear. It just keeps piling on. You see, your brain doesn't work the way you've been told. You just don't turn it off. That's not how you're wired. After a busy shift, your system doesn't just shut down when it ends. There is no on and off switch. You think the shift ends? It doesn't. Your environment changes, but your nervous system doesn't. So what happens? You go home and your body's there, but your mind isn't. Your nervous system is stuck in threat detection mode. You're in the hypervigilance zone. And when it turns off, it always will. Everything you pushed away starts coming back. And here's where it starts to show up. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying calls that you didn't think bothered you. You're short with your family and you don't know why. You feel disconnected, but you can't explain it. So what do? You double down. After all, I'm okay. But here's the part nobody says out loud. I'm okay isn't neutral. It's not harmless. It's a delay tactic, and over time, it becomes a pattern. When you say, I'm okay, what you're really doing is shutting down awareness, suppressing memories, avoiding processing. You're keeping everything internal, and your brain adapts to that, adding to the pressure. And pressure doesn't disappear. It builds quietly, slowly, then it starts to release. Sometimes it's anger, alcohol abuse, isolation, burnout, or just emotionally checking out. And sometimes it's worse. You've seen it. You've been close to it, maybe closer than you ever admitted. And here's the scariest part. You can be highly functioning and deeply not okay at the same time. It's interesting how you can look totally fine on the outside, but be struggling deeply inside, right? Like you can be the first one to step up and handle pressure, and everyone sees you as that rock they can rely on. But beneath that surface, it can really feel like you're slowly falling apart. It's that classic struggle, convincing everyone else that you're okay while losing touch with who you really are. In our community, the unspoken rule is that emotions can get someone hurt or killed. So you end up putting those feelings aside like a survival tactic. It's that tough balancing act between doing your job and taking care of your own well-being. We often say, I'm okay, as a go-to answer, even when we're really dealing with a lot, like sleepless nights, being emotionally overwhelmed, feelings of hopelessness, and losing interest in things that once made us happy. It's not about blaming a job or any specific circumstance. It's about being truthful with ourselves and recognizing the toll that pretending takes. When you wear that I'm okay mask for too long, it's easy to forget what actually feeling okay is like. But here's the reality. You're not okay. You're trained. You're functional. You're reliable under pressure. And you're carrying trauma that most people will never see or understand. And because of this, the lie costs too much of everything. The truth is, many of us aren't really okay. We're just getting by, functioning, and putting on a brave face. We keep pushing through. But inside, we're carrying a weight that most people can't even begin to understand. And that burden can really take a toll. It's the hidden cost we pay every day. And it's heartbreaking because so many of us get into these jobs wanting to make a difference, only to end up feeling like the world has changed us. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's this slow deterioration. You end up numb. You feel everything at once, yet you feel nothing. It's a tough place to be. And here's the sad part. Saying I'm okay actually keeps us from getting the help we need. It hides our struggles from others and from ourselves. And recognizing that is such an important step towards healing. The danger isn't the lie itself. The danger is believing it. As first responders, there's this unspoken culture of always being stoic. It's understandable. Staying strong and in life and death situations is critical. But here's the thing. Being stoic has its downsides. If we focus too much on being resilient, we might end up suppressing our emotions, avoiding how we really feel, or even engaging in harmful behaviors. Opening up about mental health struggles can feel like you're breaking a sacred code, an unwritten rule. It can put your career at risk. So when someone says, I'm fine or I'm okay, it can feel like a way to deflect. It's a way to sidestep vulnerability, trying to protect others from worry and avoid those intense emotions, which can be tough to face. It's complicated, isn't it? Constantly facing traumatic events like car crashes, fires, violent crimes, or medical emergencies. It can take a toll on your mental health. You may be struggling with issues like post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, and turning to bad behaviors just to cope. You may not realize, but first responders experience traumatic stress injuries much higher rates than the general population. In fact, you have a higher risk of dying by suicide than in the line of duty. We encounter more mental health challenges compared to the average person, yet we don't seek help. Why? One major factor is stigma. Stigma can be described as an attribute that is deeply discrediting, reducing someone from a whole and usual person to a tainted, discounted one. For us, stigma means fearing others will see us as weak or unfit for duty. And instead of talking about it, we just say, I'm okay to get through the day. We don't talk about first responder suicide like we should. And it's heartbreaking to think the terms we often throw around: post-traumatic stress, burnout, or just struggling. But when you dig a little bit deeper, it's clear that we're facing a much more serious issue: lives lost to suicide. It's not a matter of weakness or inability to handle a job. We've been carrying such heavy burdens for too long, convincing ourselves we're okay when we're not. It's tough, and we really need to talk about it more openly. You know, first responders don't die by suicide on their worst days. They do it on a normal one, after their shift, after the call, after the jokes in the apparatus bay or the patrol car, after everything looked fine. That's what makes it hard to see coming. Now listen, there's a pattern to this. Call it an equation if you want. Stress plus trauma plus silence plus isolation over time equals risk. If nothing interrupts risk, it keeps building. Now add in exhaustion, alcohol, and the feeling of being disconnected from everything that used to matter. Now you're in a different place. That's where suicides start showing up. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, subtle, like a thought you didn't expect. Maybe it would just be easier. And that's the moment we miss. Because on the outside, you look squared away. You're doing the job, handling the calls. You're the one people count on. That's why it's the dependable ones, the steady ones, the ones nobody worried about, the ones who always say, I'm good, I'm okay, or I'm too blessed to be stressed. And that's where this goes if nothing interrupts it. Silence turns into isolation. Isolation turns into deeper struggles, such as despair, depression, or suicidal ideation. And by the time you realize it, you're in deeper than you thought. So hear this clearly. If you're telling yourself, I'm okay, when you're not managing it. You're feeding it. The job will take everything you're willing to give: your time, your patience, your marriage, your peace, and it will never tell you to stop. In fact, it will kill you if you let it. But trusting in God and asking for help will not. In his second letter to the church in Corinth, the Apostle Paul wrote about how God's grace enabled him to endure incredibly difficult times. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul wrote, My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me. But unfortunately, you learned that ignoring a problem does not make it go away. It makes it worse. After all, I'm okay. Sometimes it's just that moment after a shift when you're sitting in your truck with a couple of beers, not really ready to go home, or that familiar habit of praying but feeling completely empty inside. It's those everyday struggles that really define what rock bottom looks like, and that's where you're going to meet God again. It's interesting how we often think of meeting God in traditional places like churches or while listening to sermons. But sometimes it's in those moments of true exhaustion and honesty where we really meet him. Think about it. When you're at your lowest, like when you say, Lord, I can't do this anymore, that's when you really feel his presence. It's important to remember that God does not shame us for feeling that way. Instead, he meets us right there in our struggles. Life can be tough, especially when it feels like work is feeding us nothing but darkness. If we don't take the time to nourish our souls with something positive like prayer, scripture, quiet moments, or attending church, then it's easy to feel empty, because faith is not about pretending everything's fine, because it's not. It's about telling the truth, even when it's ugly. We were taught to be strong, to push through, carry it, to handle it, but we got it twisted somewhere. Strength turned into silence. That's not what God asked for. He didn't say, carry it all yourself. He said, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Not when you got it together, because you don't. That's the point. That moment where you finally go, I can't keep doing this like this, that's not weakness. That's where things actually start to change. I've sat across from people in this profession, not as the boss, a peer, a coach, or a chaplain, but as someone they could actually talk to. And I'm telling you, behind closed doors, it's different. I'm okay turns into, I haven't slept in days. I don't feel like myself anymore. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. Same person, same job, different truth. So let's get something clear right now. If you've been saying, I'm okay, but you know something is off, that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And more importantly, it means your system is doing exactly what it was trained to do. So instead of just talking about it, here's something you can actually use. Next time you catch yourself saying, I'm okay, pause just for a second. Then ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Not what you should feel, what's actually there. Then, where do you feel it? Chest tight, jaw locked, stomach twisted? And then say it out loud. Or if you're not driving, call or text somebody. I'm not okay right now. That's it. You don't need to unpack everything. You just need to stop pretending, because you don't fix what you avoid. What you're dealing with isn't random. It's not a personality flaw. It's not a lack of toughness. There's a reason you can't shut it off. There's a reason it follows you home. There's a reason it shows up when things finally get quiet. And in the next episode, I'm going to break that down. I'm going to show you exactly why your brain stays in the fight even when the shift is over. And once you understand that, is where control starts. So here's where we are. Saying I'm okay when you're not is not strength. That's just getting through the day. And getting through the day isn't the goal. At some point, you've got to be honest. Maybe not with everyone, but with someone. Say it out loud. I'm not okay. I'm not fine. That's where this starts turning. And if it's getting heavy, just don't sit there. Call someone. For cops and their families, call CopLine, 1-800-CopLine, 1-800-267-5463. Again, 1-800-267-5463. For firefighters and medics and their families, it's the Fire EMS Helpline at 1-800-731-3473. Again, 1-800-731-3473. And those numbers will be in the show notes. Both are staffed by trained officers, firefighters, and medics. And you can also call or text the National Suicide Hotline at 988. Those calls stay between you and them, and it might be the thing that keeps you here. You spent your whole career showing up for everyone else. Now it's time to show up for yourself. You know, it's really important to remember that you don't have to go through things by yourself. And if you're not feeling okay right now, it's totally okay. If this episode spoke to you, don't ignore it. And if you are facing some tough times, please don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, being strong doesn't mean you have to stay quiet, and believing in something doesn't mean you have to ignore what's right in front of you. You are not meant to deal with on your own. And remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe share it with your partners. I'm Danny Kuhn. I'm here because I care. See you next time.